Shalom, Mashpaka. Aman, Aman. Welcome to my channel. I came here today to drop a couple of words for the Mashpaka. I want to thank y'all all for coming. That's going to come in. Thank you for the ones that's here right now. And for the ones that will watch, even after the broadcast, you are all valuable and you all bring worth to the table. And I just want to tell y'all, thank y'all for coming. Okay, today we're going to be talking about the black codes, and we will have a conversation about this situation because it affects all of us in our prospective places that we all living in today. And I pray that after the day we would have a more understanding amongst one another, and that we would start working on some solutions in order to fix our situation. Not that we're going to fix it by our own selves, because we do need Allah, but that we're working together as a people instead of fighting against one another as enemies. I saw on a news broadcast how there's a particular way that some of our so-called leaders choose to act towards us as a people. And I'm going to go ahead and read some sources to y'all, and then I'll pull it up on the screen. I didn't want to do too much on here because I don't want to cause any issues with the computer. But the first point that I want to talk to y'all about, we're going to be talking about the slave codes. All right. Racial bias and police brutality. All right. So first, I'm going to go up to, I read a scripture in the Bible earlier today about if a man don't take care of his household first, he's worse than the infidel. And I'm going to read some things to you about us as the men in our community. And let us see what we get with that situation right there. So first, in 1662, people say, oh, that's way far back. Bear with me. We're going to get up to the day. In 1662, Virginia law states, see, it's a law. Virginia law states that the status of a child follows that of the mother, ensuring that the children of enslaved women are born into slavery. So you see that? Virginia law states that the status of a child follows that of the mother, ensuring that the children of enslaved women are born into slavery. Now, how did that come to pass? And don't worry, I'm going to show y'all I got the information inside of it's going to be underneath the video. So y'all don't worry about that. Y'all going to be able to go and fact check everything that I'm saying to y'all today. You know, I didn't want to have no issues with my computer, but y'all will be able to go and fact check everything that I'm saying to y'all today. Every single thing. So in 1662, there was a law that passed, and they said that, because, the slave master used to go in and sleep up with our mothers, Shalom Ak Moshe, the commentator, Ak Moshe Ak being Shalom. There was a law that they had to, they cover their steps. So when they would lay up with our mothers. And back in them days, the brothers that would speak about them more than likely would say our sisters, because they are our mothers and still our sisters, but yet it's still your mothers. But when a slave master would get on top and use them like an old toilet stool, the white children, the law wasn't written for them to be enslaved. You see that? So when they use our mothers, our sisters, like toilet stools, where you boo-boo in, and dumped off they seeds in our mothers, the children was the son or the daughter of the father, right? But they still made them enslaved, so they had to change up that law to fit their criteria. So therefore, the children that came out of that unholy union, those children still had to get on the plantation. All right, so they were still a slave, still suffer the suffering of a slave, even if they had to put them inside of the house and they became a house Negro, because they was one generation away from being a man groom. They still put them on the plantation. Then you go down to 1705, Virginia slave codes. So that means that, okay, now the woman is in charge. So now they say the man ain't in charge at 1662. But the old slave master, he made sure of that, because he didn't want those children to be free. Shalom, Sister B Sparrow, B1. That right. They didn't want to be free. And a lot of our brothers and sisters from on that name right there, Sister B Sparrow, a lot of our brothers and sisters in Africa don't understand why I ain't say all of them, but a lot of them don't understand why we say B1. And they keep talking about Pan-African and all that. The reason why we say B1 is because people always come in, misuse us, take the resources, and then laugh in our face. So we was trying to come together and work together and build together. But people that don't understand that, they would try to tear that down. And that's why I told a brother from Africa, I believe he from the northern tribe, I was trying to explain to him that I understand where you coming from, bruh, but you gotta understand where we coming from. We couldn't keep fighting with them over that right there. They wanted to delineate, and now, a lot of times out of anger and frustration, people may say, hey, y'all delineating. They delineated from us, so we just got the drift of it, and we just said, you know what? We need to love each other, because if somebody else ain't gonna do right by you, my daddy always taught that you need to do right by your own. You can't wait on nobody else to do right by you before you start doing right by your own. So we came together, and that was our way of saying, hey fam, let's stick together and let's be one then, because everybody else don't want to be one but us, so let's be one with one another. Literally, that's just my take on it, and that's how I took it. Others may see it as some kind of flex in order to make money, and they barcoded it and all that right there. But that's like me saying, hey, the Bible said, follow the way, the truth, and the life. And then somebody come up and they make copyright my name. Right. And they copyright my name, and they say this is Yiqwaba's movement or Calvin's movement. You got to go back to the source in order to understand what Yiqwaba said, what Calvin said, because before all these things, before the big tech people come in, it always start at the lower level and what we call the grassroots. That's what Malcolm X called it. Sister say, and I hate these diaspora wars. I do as well. We ain't got no what we why we gonna waste all our time arguing at each other? Hey, that's further on in the video. But the 18th century, so that's 1705. Let's go right here. That's the 18th century right there. See, when you go to 1705, that's the 18th century. Okay? Virginia Slave Code codifies the status of slaves, and then you go to 1662, that's the 17th century. All right? That means 17 AD, 1700 AD. But anyway, Virginia Slave Code codified the status of slaves, further limited their freedom and defining the rights of slave owners. You see that? So from the conception, after Abraham Lincoln was assassinated because he said he really wasn't trying to, he really didn't care about freeing us or not. That was so they could stop that war that was going on, you know, the red and the blue. Look on your flag. They want to stop that war, red, blue, and then they got white in the middle. All right? And the blood of the slaves, which they so valiantly swear, by the gloom of the grave, you know, that they was going to snuff out any Negro that bore arms. And don't worry, I'm getting to that as well. 1705 Virginia Slave Codes codified the status of slaves, further limited their freedom, and defining the rights of slave owners. Now, somebody may say, well, y'all was just slaves. That's not what y'all said. When y'all formed you, now we slaves because of our transgression. But inside of the scripture, Yahweh told us not to lord over one another. So why would he vindicate them for doing all of the dirt that they doing? And when he say lording over one another, we will a lot of us trying to be the top Negro in charge of everything. We trying to shut down anything, and that's lording over your people. 18th century. Now we're going to the 18th century right here. So up there, that was the 7th century, and that was the 8th, a part of that. So 7th century. So if you cover a whole century, like let's say 1900 all the way up to 2000, that's a whole century. Y'all see that? So from 19 to 20, if they been acting the same, and 19 to 20, that's a whole nother century. Okay? So when we got to 2000, that's the 21st century. Okay, so we see how that going. So they been acting up. But let's 18th century. So that's from 17 to 18. That's 1735. South Carolina. That was a place where a lot of our ancestors were brought over here to America. There was many other routes that they took to bring our people over here. But in 17 code in the colonies. All right. Good. I'm reconnected. Okay. 1735, South Carolina passes the first comprehensive slave code in the colonies, restricting the movement, assembly, and education of enslaved people. Now, have y'all noticed even still till this day. Till this day. And right now we're in the 26th century. Even still till this day, 2026 century. Till this day. Like the brother say, till this day. When a whole bunch of us get together, oh boy. But look here, 1735, assembling of Negroes together. You know why they didn't want us to assemble together? Huh? Let's read it. Well, I'm going to quote it to you, and then I left the information in there for you. South Carolina passes the first comprehensive slave code in the colonies. South Carolina, there go Carolina, passes the first comprehensive slave code in the colonies. That's also what apartments is called. Restricting the movement, assembly, and education of enslaved people. They did not want you to read, okay? They didn't want you to assemble yourself together to learn. Why didn't they want you to get together and learn nothing? South Carolina passes the first comprehensive slave code in the colonies, restricting the movement, assembly, and education of enslaved people. Now we go down to 1787. Y'all see how that's working? So that was from them years right there, years on up after that. I'm pretty sure that Negroes all them years was trying their best to read, getting fingers and stuff cut off and all type of stuff, getting whipped. Now we go up to 1787. The Northwest Ordinance prohibits slavery in the Northwest Territory, but does not address the status of existing enslaved people. Do that sound familiar? So they ignore the current existence of slave people. So even though they say they passed it, you still was enslaved. You still was in slavery. And they had ships secretly going and catching people. Anyway, so that right there didn't stop the program. They got some ship wreckage and stuff right now that you can go and look up right now online, and you can see even that Yiqwaba galley ship. Okay, 19th century, 1808, Congress bans the importation of enslaved people, but the domestic slave trade continues to grow. You see that? But it continues to grow. So it started to grow it was even getting bigger. You know what I'm saying? It started to even grow. It grew. It was growing because it was a booming industry to go and get this tribe of people to break them down to be their slave. All right. So I guess that our ancestors, our father and our mother, what we would say grandmother and grandfather, fathers, was protesting or whatever they was doing. So they said, you know what? Here you go, Negroes. 1865, the 13th Amendment abolishes slavery, but black codes are enacted in the southern states to control the labor and behavior of freedmen. Y'all see that? So that's who they was calling us back then, the freedmen. So when you hear African American, what they want to call us, Black American, whatever they want to say, when you hear us say we are freedmen, why are we saying that? 1866, black codes are replaced by Jim Crow laws. So then they say, so the freedmen started to get locked up and put inside of slavery again. Y'all see that? They wanted us to do free labor inside of the prisons. Even though it didn't stop, black codes are replaced by Jim Crow laws. They say, okay, well, you can't go here, you can't go there, you can't get this, you can't get that. That forces you into a dilemma. Now you got to beg and plead, and don't forget what happened to the Freedmen's bank, how they took all of the wealth and all of the money out of there. I got that video. I did a video on that. I will pin that under there, and I believe brother Philip Scott did a video on that as well, on how the freedmen how they took all of our resources. And he may do another video. I don't know. Brother Phil got a made up mind. I like how Brother Phil work. I like how he operate. He speak on what he know is the right thing to talk about. But black codes are replaced by Jim Crow laws. There's a video posted up on my community tab about Jim Crow laws, which enforced racial segregation and disenfranchised black nigger Americans. Now, how can you say that you are an American, but you don't have the rights of Americans? That means that you are a captive of Americans, of America. The state own you now. Now the state own you. The black codes are replaced by Jim Crow laws because Negroes, you see this? The black codes was enacted in order to control the Negroes on the plantation. And you got to remember, around certain times, they had big Negroes, Israelites had built strong economies and was getting richer, probably richer than the president them here. And so they came over there and bombed all that. All right, even though they didn't get it from them. Then you got Jim Crow pass. Now we coming up to, look how long this lasted. Martin Luther King just got assassinated in the 1900s. And a lot of our grandparents walked with Martin Luther King up and down throughout Washington. But look at this right here. So they passed the Jim Crow laws to segregate Negroes from money, to segregate Negroes from anything that they had. And so Negroes was over there in their community trying to work on themselves. The Israelites. Shalom, sister, live, love, life with Nit, y'all. So post-Reconstruction era, late 19th century. Remember what I said, when they say 19th century, that's the 1800s. So when we just came out of the 1800s, I was born in the 20th century, just like a lot of y'all. But let's check this out. 1896, Plessy versus Ferguson, Supreme Court decision, upholds the constitutionality of racial segregation under the separate but equal doctrine. And that was the illusion of inclusion. That's what Martin Luther King was talking about. Plessy versus Ferguson. There was these man, a Negro, a Israelite that wanted to come in and marry a European woman, and they shut that down. And then a Negro female came in with a European man, and they boosted that up. So they was against us marrying their old lady, but they wanted to marry ours, and they wanted immunity in it. And so any of our people that go out and marry with outside of one another, you're doing your people a big disservice, whether if you want to receive it or not. And in the 19th centuries to 1960s. Look at this, 19th century, 1900s to the 1960s, my bad. Jim Crow laws and practices continue to enforce racial segregation and discrimination, preventing Israelite men from fully participating, and leading their households. All right. So now you got an issue right here. So Jim Crow laws practices continues to enforce racial segregation, and they weren't talking about they want to go and live with each other. I don't believe that you would want to go and live next door to somebody, but some of them was. So they said more of our people was against segregating inside of white people's businesses and stuff. So a lot of our people, the majority of us, didn't want none of this to happen. Okay, not like this. So that wasn't our aim. So you know how somebody come in and you could be talking about George Floyd and then they talking about all life matter. You see how they changed it? You see what I'm saying? So Jim Crow, and then you had Martin Luther King. He repented of that. Martin Luther King said that he made a grave mistake, a grave error. And in the latter end of his life, he started to speak up for our people that was trying to build up one another and not going inside of all these other places. And when Elder Martin Luther King started to understand, when he understood his error and he tried to fix it, that's when he was murdered. Jim Crow laws and practices continue to enforce racial segregation. When you go to the bank, when you go to get a loan and all type of stuff, when you're not given proper due process, you know what I mean? It took them 20-something years to say who killed Tupac. And have they even found the victim? Found the one who killed Biggie Smalls? You see what I'm saying? That's taking somebody out. You remember they did I think there was a man in New York. I watched the movie on it and they said it was based on a true story. How he was carrying a can in his hand and got gunned down by the police. And that murder was never solved. Even somebody posted up today about Trayvon Martin, how that guy's going around and bullying the people who are made victims, and it's like he got qualified immunity. And so when people started talking about, Donald Trump gonna give them qualified immunity, during that the whole time of Joe Biden, and even the small time that Kamala Harris had, or maybe she still got right now, that Trayvon Martin situation, look at what it's going like now. Do you remember the lady, the Emmett Till thing that everybody was crying about during the Martin Luther King days? They let her live her whole life without going to prison. You see that? And she died a good old age without facing no penalties. But let a Negro steal a piece of bread out of the store or be accused of stealing a pencil, you going to prison. I remember seeing this was in real time. I saw a little girl that walked out of the store with a Barbie doll, and the police surrounded the car for a little girl. But this man beat Trayvon Martin to death. Another woman had Emmett Till mutilated and live her whole life, all of them, without going to prison. But let a little girl walk out the store with a Barbie doll. Jim Crow laws, this is the 1860s, all right? This is the 60s. And if you ever talk to your grandparents, they'll tell you the 60s wasn't no piece of cake. And practices continue to enforce racial segregation and discrimination, preventing Israelite men from fully participating in society and leading their households. So y'all remember what Elder Martin Luther King argument was. Then you go to the civil rights movement of 1950s to 60s. So here go Martin Luther King, but Elder Malcolm X said that Martin Luther King didn't start this. He said, but Jesse and all the rest of them. So I ain't gonna get into all that, but y'all know the videos to look up with Jesse, what Malcolm X was talking about. If y'all don't, if y'all were willing, I'll post up the videos on my community tab after I'm off here, if y'all were willing. So 1964 AD, the Civil Rights Act is passed. The Civil Rights Act is passed, but who benefited from it? See, we're the ones that can tell this story. Who benefited from it, family? Who benefited from this? Now, my daddy was born, I believe him and Michael Jackson was born in the same year. Okay? I believe Michael was born in 1950, in the 1950s. The Civil Rights Act is passed outlawing discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. What did they do? They broke every single Civil Rights Act. They broke it all, outlawing discrimination based on race. They broke that horribly. Color, horribly. And not in every instance. In some instances, it kind of worked well. But in majority, when you put it on the balance on the scale, which one tips the balance? Religion, they call us Hebrew Israelite terrorist organizations, but this is not even a religion. Sex, male or female, they set up LGBTQ or national origin. So they call your national origin an occult. The Voting Rights Act is passed. This is 1965 here when they passed this. And that's when President Kennedy was in office. In 1965, the Voting Rights Act is passed, and he was assassinated as well, aiming to overcome legal barriers at the state and local levels that prevented Black Americans from exercising their right to vote. So y'all know who Robert Kennedy is? His kinfolk was the one that was trying to that was passing these bills and stuff in order to what they say, to integrate and all this different type of stuff and to respond to the situation. This timeline provides a brief overview. This is just brief, family. It's deeper than it seems. Now let's go to the police. In 1792, remember when they say 1700s, that is the 18th century. So in 1792, the Federal Militia Acts prohibited Negro Israelite men from serving in the U.S. Army. All right, so they prohibited them from serving in the United States Army. Why did they prevent them from going in there? Then they're going to get into more clarity here. So in 1812, they told you the reason why they didn't want Negroes to fight in the war. But they did. Our ancestors was out there fighting, but they weren't able to bear arms. So I guess they had to use sticks or shovels or rakes or whatever they had. It says in 1812, Israelite men were largely excluded from military service, though some serve in the U.S. Navy. Now, there's a movie, you know, the man that wrote the film with Ice Cube was in it. Tupac turned down that role. He said that ain't no Muslim supposed to be doing all that, so he didn't want to take the role. So that movie right there, I think the movie was called Boys in the Hood. Did the guy that was the guy that did radio, that the actor that did radio, he did about the first Negro in the U.S. Navy. He was doing that right there. So right here, Civil War, 1861, and he couldn't bear arms. 1861 to 1865, initially, Israelite men were not allowed to serve, but this changed in 1862 with the Confiscation Act and the Militia Act. That's where the sheriff come from, the police, which allowed the formation of the United States Colored Troops. All right, so they allowed the formation of the United States Colored Troops. So that's where you get in. You remember another real film. Radio Raheem. That's it. But there was another film that was did, a documentary, Militia Act, which also confirmation of the United States Colored Troop. So y'all remember the black people that won the wars for America, whether they had shovels, bricks, or however they won, they if it wasn't for them, they weren't gonna win, because the side that was losing, when they let the black people fight, they started winning. Okay? Militia Act, which allowed the formation of the United States Colored Troops. USCT. What was the name of that other movie? That Buffalo Soldiers? They stood up and fought. That's the first ones which you could say did guerrilla warfare, special ops. That's where the special ops come from how Negroes fight. Post-Civil War, and that was in 1862 when the act was passed, and that's why they won that war. All right, fighting for the indigenous people. All right, the Negroes was fighting. Post-Civil War, despite the end of slavery, according to them, but it still was enacted with the 13th Amendment and still getting free labor. That's why they the richest nation on the earth, because if you ain't got to pay nobody to do all the work, and you can bank it all in your pocket, no matter how bad it. So they still letting people come out. I saw Sister Christina talking about that. I'm going to share that underneath this video as well. What Sister Christina was talking about on the radio that they posted up. So y'all make sure y'all check out Wise Society. And if you don't know where it is, I'll post it underneath this video right here. And y'all make sure y'all go and like her video and subscribe after y'all hear what them three sisters was on there talking about. I'm pretty sure that y'all gonna be glad that y'all came and listened. It says, post-Civil War, despite the end of slavery, black men, Israelite men, face significant barriers to militia service until the mid-20th century. So you remember the Desert Storm and Vietnam and all that? That's when we was first allowed to do. Okay? It wasn't until 1948. 1948. Think about that. With President Harry Truman Executive Order 9981 that segregation in the military was officially ended, allowing Israelite men to serve on equal terms. So now they were able to go to a gunfight with a gun and not go to a gunfight with a knife. Okay? Because it was something that they wanted them to fight for in the 1940s. Come on, family. Let's use our wisdom here. There's been several tragic incidents where Israelite men were shot by police officers who mistook everyday objects like phones or keys for weapons. For example, Andrew Hill was fatally shot in Ohio while holding his phone and keys. Similarly, Donnie Sanders was shot in Kansas City while holding a cell phone. These incidents highlight the ongoing issues. Slavery, and you Negroes have not the right to bear arms, and your identity is still treated as if it is against the law for you to have. These incidents highlight the ongoing issues of racial bias and the need for police reform to prevent such tragedies. So, family, what do y'all think about that right there? Do y'all think that with all that going on, that it's fair to say when somebody read out the scripture and they make a statement, I'm finna pull up something for y'all, and they make a statement saying that if a man don't work, a man don't eat, that's some kind of vindication for how you are being treated? Can we honestly say that that is a good analysis, family? Now, so let me go up here to this right here, and I'm finna let this play for y'all. Y'all were willing. All right. I'm gonna let this play for y'all. All right, so this right here, this is the Fox News station right here. So here we go. This is the this is CBS News. Let me turn everything on. I can make sure that the audio going through. Pretty sure y'all will let me know if it don't go through properly. So let me go ahead and press play on here and let y'all hear what the news station had to say about what I'm talking about.
Former Columbus, Ohio police officer is now charged with murder for killing a black man back in December. Adam Coy was responding to a non-emergency call when he encountered Andre Hill inside a friend's garage. Police say the shooting happened within seconds, and Coy failed to activate his body camera or give any medical aid. Hill was left lying alone on the ground for several minutes. The footage you're looking at here from the scene was recovered later, only after the fact. Coy's lawyer says the former officer will plead not guilty. Ohio's Attorney General says the grand jury found clear evidence of wrongdoing, and the Hill family's lawyer says they are cautiously optimistic.
Truth is the best friend of justice, and the grand jury here found the truth. Andre Hill should not be dead.
That does not necessarily mean there will be a conviction. So they understand that this is going to be a long journey to justice.
This week, the Columbus City Council passed Andre's law allowing criminal charges if a Columbus police officer fails to turn on a body camera or call for medical help. when necessary. So this is obviously an example of a city that is taking fairly swift action. It's interesting that the only reason any footage exists of this incident is because there was a pre-roll technology on the camera. So although the officer did not turn it on himself, the camera was rolling for 60 seconds prior.
Yeah, which is why we have that video.
Yeah, it is.
You got to figure out a way to make these cameras roll
Continuously.
continuously. I don't think it's good that the officer gets to determine when it goes on and when it goes off. In this case, it's good they had the pre-roll.
And it's unclear whether the officer knew that pre-roll was there, but if we did not have it, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Yeah, right.
In all likelihood.
As Ben Crum said, a conviction is not guaranteed here, but this is a good first step for the Hill family in their quest for justice.
Same rules for everybody.
In that case, you're right about that, Tony.
All right, Tony, I'll take it from here, buddy. All right, Tony, I'll take it from here. So that was a good story. So this right here, this is the documents that y'all will get if y'all go underneath the video once it's over. This is talking about everything that I stated. It's put in chronicalized order right here. This is from Oxford University. Okay, this is Oxford University Institute, and I'll read briefly on the introduction. This says the institution of chattel slavery, that means you treat it like an animal. Chattel slavery in the United States was primarily a system of labor and containment. So for your labor, for your free labor, and keeping you as a prisoner. Containment means that you're being contained. You know, when they say, ask the police, am I being detained? Am I under arrest? So you are under containment. You have no, if you go, say I'm going back to the home, my birthland of my nativity, according to how things is set up, you're contained here. There are laws set up to make sure that you cannot go back to the home of your nativity. Now, one of the legal strategies that Euro-Americans, and I'm glad that they put that, Oxford put Euro-Americans, not white Americans, Euro-Americans, because nobody is the color of this here paper here. Good job, students. Euro-Americans, and I learned a lot from them too. Devised to control the time, energy, and mobility of enslaved people of African descent. They just called anybody that was taken from that place of African descent so as not to bring in any confusion. All right. So let me jump over here to the slave codes of the slavery. This is 1500s to 1750. Who kicked off the slave trade? Spain and Portugal. Who was they enslaving? They told you. The tribe of the people that was going to forget their identity. That was Judah. So right here, you will see it when you get this file that was done by Oxford University in 2013. Last review 2013, last modified 30 September 2013. So this was done. This is a recent document, but it's not that recent. But any book that you write, if it's filled with the actualities of what happened, it is a substantial informational source. All right. So I'm finna pull up a Bible verse for y'all, fam. I'm gonna pull up a Bible verse for y'all. So Bible Online. Yeah, that's the right one. Sometimes these keys stick together. I gotta pull them out and fix them. All right. That's Bible Gateway. I like to use this one, King James Version. There's many other versions you could use, but I just like this one. And King James was a Negro. That's what me and Sister Yiqwaba was talking about. I'm finna read this to y'all, let y'all know who y'all is. A lot of y'all already know, but I keep quoting this over and over and over again. Even though I did a message on this before, I still want to play it for y'all so that y'all can see, hear it for y'allself. So I'm gonna play this and just listen, family. So I'm finna rest my voice and play this and chat with y'all inside of the chat box. And whatever topics y'all want to talk about today on here, we'll discuss it together. But I'm finna go ahead and let this play, all right?
Ezekiel 16. Again the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, cause Jerusalem to know her abominations, and say, Thus saith the Lord God unto Jerusalem, Thy birth and thy nativity is of the land of Canaan. Thy father was an Amorite, and thy mother an Hittite. And as for thy nativity, in the day thou wast born, thy navel was not cut, neither wast thou washed in water to supple thee. Thou wast not salted at all, nor swaddled at all. None eye pitied thee, to do any of these unto thee, to have compassion upon thee. But thou wast cast out in the open field to the loathing of thy person, in the day that thou wast born. And when I passed by thee, and saw thee polluted in thine own blood, I said unto thee, when thou wast in thy blood, live. Yea, I said unto thee, when thou wast in thy blood, live. I have caused thee to multiply, as the bud of the field, and thou hast increased and waxen great. And thou art come to excellent ornaments, thy breasts are fashioned, and thine hair is grown, whereas thou wast naked and bare. Now when I passed by thee and looked upon thee, behold, thy time was the time of love, and I spread my skirt over thee, and covered thy nakedness. Yea, I swear unto thee, and entered into a covenant with thee, saith the Lord God, and thou becamest mine. Then washed I thee with water, yea, I thoroughly washed away thy blood from thee, and I anointed thee with oil. I clothed thee also with broidered work, and shod thee with badger's skin, and I girded thee about with fine linen, and I covered thee with silk. I decked thee also with ornaments, and I put bracelets upon thy hands, and a chain on thy neck, and I put a jewel on thy forehead, and earrings in thine ears, and a beautiful crown upon thine head. Thus wast thou decked with gold and silver, and thy raiment was of fine linen, and silk, and broidered work. Thou didst eat fine flour and honey and oil, and thou wast exceeding beautiful, and thou didst prosper into a kingdom. And thy renown went forth among the heathen for thy beauty, for it was perfect through my comeliness, which I had put upon thee, saith the Lord God. But thou didst trust in thine own beauty, and playedst the harlot because of thy renown, and pouredst out thy fornications on every one that passed by. His it was. And of thy garments thou didst take, and deckedst thy high places with divers colours, and playest the harlot thereupon. The like things shall not come, neither shall it be so. Thou hast also taken thy fair jewels of my gold and of my silver, which I had given thee, and madest to thyself images of men, and didst commit whoredom with them, and tookest thy broidered garments, and coveredst them, and thou hast set mine oil and mine incense before them. My meat also which I gave thee, fine flour and oil and honey, wherewith I fed thee, thou hast even set it before them for a sweet savour.
So, family, we see that's our nativity. That's who we are. And we are being broken down as a people. And we need to keep these things in remembrance. So the next time somebody tell you that your situation is not a situation, and they treat you like you're not a people, and that y'all don't need to work together as a people, this was my main purpose of coming on here, to let y'all know that we need to treat each other better, because by that balance, that's what we're going to be judged by. Yahweh is going to weigh us on how we kept the law. And keeping the law is how you treat your brother and how you treat your sister. That's how you keep the law. So we need to be careful and mindful of these things. I don't have the audio wave in the background today. I will have to put it back there, but I want to sing one more song for y'all, and I'm gonna go ahead and go to my screen that I had created. My bad. Go to the screen, and I want to give thanks to all of the Mashpachah, that all of the people that helped to make this video a possibility. All of their information will be in the description underneath the video. So I just want to thank all the people on Pixabay that helped me put together the video sequences and everything on here. And I want to thank all of the Mashpachah that came out and participated in this video. And I'm finna go ahead and sing this song for y'all, and I'm finna get off of here. Hopefully I sang the whole song today. All right. Fair use, fair use. I'm gonna go ahead and sing it for y'all. Hide me now under your wings. Cover me within your mighty hand. 'Cause when the oceans rise and thunder soar, I will soar with you above the storm. Father, you are king over the flood. Anya yada Allah ayam. All praises be unto his holy name. Listen. Hallelujah ya yaha. Khan alahai. Yes. Find rest, my soul, and Messiah alone. Know his power in quietness Hallelujah, Yahweh. We can't give up on you, Yahweh. We can't stop going, Father. We done came too far to give up now. Y'all. We done came through, we done went through too many things to be giving up. To be even talking about giving up. Giving up should not be in our vocabulary. Thank you, Yahweh. You teach us what to do, how to do. We give you all the glory, all the praise. Amen, 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 amen. All praises be unto your holy name. Hallelujah. All praises be unto your holy name, Yahweh. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. And Messiah alone. Know his power in quietness and trust. 'Cause when the oceans rise and thunders roar, I will soar with you above the storm. Abba, you are king over the flood. I will be still, know you are Yah. When the oceans rise, Mashpaka, and the thunders roar, soar with Yahweh above the storm. Hallelujah. Listen, I will be still, Yada Allahayam. I want to thank y'all again for coming. Shalom. Y'all better not give up. You better not give up. You better hold on. You better be strong. Don't forget where you come from. Don't forget who you is. Shalom, Mashpaka. Ahaba.